Okay, so let's take a look at the live action example.
Yeah, let's look at this film. Definitely one of your favorite films, Road to Perdition, shot by Conrad Hall, who we talked about before.
Yeah, this was actually his last film before he passed, and he won Oscar for cinematography of this film. And one thing we should really make sure to mention is that Sam Mendes, the director, has a lot to do with the way it was shot too. He's one of those directors. If you listen to the commentary on DVDs of this film, you know that he had a very specific ideas before he brought it to Conrad, and Conrad executed beautifully, and they collaborated together.
And I think that's the key, right? It's a real collaboration between filmmakers to get any of these parts to work. So whether you're looking at, so we're going to talk about not just lighting, even though we're talking, a class is focusing on color script. We're going to talk about all the parts, all the pieces that go together to make a film like this. And the scene we're going to look at is this kind of a bunch of gangsters sitting around a table, and Paul Newman plays kind of the head of the gang, and then opposite him is Daniel Craig, his son, who is kind of the antagonist of this film. And then off to the side, and really pay attention to how they stage and how they sit people, is Tom Hanks's character, who is kind of he does a lot of the dirty work for the gang, but he's not actually part of the family.
Yeah, Paul Newman kind of raised him as his own kid almost, and then Daniel Craig, who's not as brilliant as Tom Hanks's character,
Connor,
is jealous of this relationship that Tom Hanks has with Paul Newman's
last
character.
night?
And then, this particular scene just happens after Daniel Craig did this, had this major screw up.
I'd like to apologize for what happened.
Trying to apologize.
Yeah, and it's a really complicated,
Especially to you.
kind of relationship amongst them all to explain.
What can I
But
say?
watch this clip and see how clear it is, the
lost a good
relationship
man
between all of them,
last
purely between the visuals,
funny.
the music, the staging, the lighting, how clear the relationship between all of them becomes.
I'd like to apologize.
You would like to apologize? Try again.
And watch his face gets slightly darker as he stands up. It's totally calculated. And you have this nice, strong rim light on him, because his background is slightly lighter, so
My apologies.
just to sculpt him out.
Is everyone clear about bit borrowers? There have been far too many debts outstanding.
Mike, just give me the names. Tell me who to visit. Thank you, gentlemen. Come on upstairs.
It's my favorite part is this shot.
Yeah, it's great as everyone's walking away into the table. There's kind of out of focus silhouettes going away. The camera's doing this really nice, gentle push into Daniel Craig's face. And we're meant to kind of just keep looking at Daniel Craig, but the focus of the shot changes.
Yeah, focus on Paul Newman's arm around Tom Hanks. Daniel Craig is out of focus. Now I focus on, you have this top-down lighting on him, this super scary, kind of ominous look.
Yeah, and it's great. Daniel Craig has those light eyes, but really deep set eyes. It really feels like these kind of piercing eyes looking out from the darkness. It's fantastic. A great villain.
Yeah, so let's take a look at another scene in the same film, Road to Perdition. And this is the scene where, later in the film where Tom Hanks' character, as much as he loved Paul Newman's character, looking up to him as a father figure, he had to come to this decision to have to kill him.
Yeah, circumstances have really led them to be at opposition from each other when both of them have tried so hard to avoid this situation. Such a great scene. So this is quite a bit later in the movie. And just check out this part of the film and really pay attention actually, not just to the visuals, but there are other elements being used here to tell the story.
the rain's creating this atmosphere. You can't see where Tom Hanks is. We know it's Tom Hanks' character shooting. And there's a reason why they didn't have any sound effect in here. It's only this slow music, gentle music, because it's this internal and intimate moment between Tom Hanks and Paul Newman's character.
Right, you just see this subtle figure emerging from the dark.
And at this point, we know Paul Newman character has given up. He accepted his fate.
I'm glad that you...
For the first time in the scene, they let the sound go, and he says, "I'm glad it's you." It's so loud that you almost jump because it's been so quiet. So those two sound effects that they kind of let it hear, and it's a very conscious choice.
It's a powerful scene too, because I feel like it's this death of one of the major characters you have. You don't show his death, you don't show the violence of that, but it feels like such an extremely violent moment because of the contrast of sound and the visuals. And then just Tom Hanks' acting, I think, in this moment is so much about the pain of having to do this. And it's so clear what this moment's about. From the camera, from the staging, and the choices they've made, it's so elegant in its execution.
And I think, one thing that, the reason why we show these clips is that when you are doing color script, we believe that you want to think about everything. Although your responsibility may be only focused on color, but the big mistake is only to think about color. You really want to think about how you can maximize all the tools you have to create this cinematic moment and see how you can help your director tell the story most effectively visually. And, I personally even think about music when I do color scripting, just because, that's the way you would think. I mean, I would think, trying to tell a story. And color scripting should never be about the color, right?
Yeah, it really is about bringing all the parts together. I mean, like anything, actually, that whenever you work on any part of the film, it should be about bringing the parts together. And I think this is such a great example for that. I think it's also interesting to look at these clips out of context. Like when you look at the, clip of the death of Paul Newman, it's kind of almost cartoony in a way. You have this street where there's no one else out there. They're perfectly under this one spotlight, very theatrical. But I urge you guys to go watch this film, check out how these scenes work in play together. It's very much all of this stuff. This talk right now really is about context of where you fit in the pipeline, context of who you're working with, who you're collaborating with, context within a film. It's about seeing the bigger picture.
With that, let's move on to the demo.
Great.